Trojans and Tundra. The Tundra in an easier division, and they're not looking so hot right now. In their upcoming games, it doesn't look that much better either. They're up against the Heat, then the Osprey. Right, the Heat are 9-2. Osprey, they're up there at 6-5. They're top of their division. They look semi-decent. I'd say still better than Tundra in terms of stats, but that seems like it's the easiest division to be in, the Wild division.
Yeah, I would agree. It's got some of the worst stat lines across the board. And unfortunately for the Tundra, though, you're literally going against the best team in that division so far. So for them, they really have not got the wins that they needed early in the season, the wins that were more manageable for them as a team. And I will say they've been somewhat of a disappointment. As someone who looked at them in the beginning of the season, I was like, okay, this team I've heard good things about. Let's see where they go. They really haven't performed. On the flip side, the Trojans, they have very successfully performed. But I will say that you lost against the Knights twice, one to a forfeit and one where you just lost 3-2 in a close series. But so now you need to make up them wins in other places to try to maintain competitiveness with the Knights, whether you deserve to be above them or not.
Mm-hmm. And Packers and Cuddly Bob last season were first round picks, if I do believe, for AAA. So they were like the top 3 of AAA, both of them. And they were really solid at the time. It seems like together, though, it's just not working out on this Tundra team. When they do play, and trust me, they forfeited one game, though they won that one versus the Dolphins. Every other game, it's not really been that close. They brought the Heat to a game 5. They brought the Vipers to a game 5. They brought the Geese to a game 5. That's the only game 5 they've won. They won versus Entropy and Thunder. And that's about it. They won against the Owls, but every other team has 3-0'd them, like the Bobcats, the Knights, the Bulldogs. They've had an easy time with them.
Yeah, unfortunately, Tundra has a very bad track record against going against better teams, in particular the highest-ranked team. So when you're looking at this matchup tonight and you're looking at the Trojans who are maintaining that higher level of play, you really do begin to wonder if this is going to be another 3-0. Because they just really have not performed against teams that are better than them, whether it be stat-wise, win rating, etc. They just seem to fall apart on those nights, almost like they've given them up, and so that's what concerns me for their performance tonight.
Now, you have to imagine, right, because they've only lost technically one game, and that's to the Knights, right, because their other 2 quote-unquote losses were forfeits. So you have to imagine right now, right, think about it this way, they're pretty much 8-1, right? They don't. It's as if those games didn't actually play out, right? They do get a loss, they do get an L, but like they didn't actually lose that game per se. They just didn't show up to it. So it's kind of skewed in that way when you have a lot of forfeits during the season, especially early on. It really skewed the narrative for sure. But now going later on into the season, it just seems like the Trojans are an all-around very good team. Their only loss, of course, coming to the Knights, and well, that's a tough team that not a lot of people could beat in the first place.
Right. I mean, that does skew it somewhat to the Trojans, although, to the Knights' credit, one of the forfeit wins that were given to the Knights, they then came back and won their next matchup. So it really, I think, would have probably been 2 losses anyways. It really would depend. I didn't obviously get to see the series between the Knights and the Trojans, but that would have set a lot of questions in motion. But so yeah, I think it's safer to say that the Trojans are one of the better teams in AAA right now. But it still matters to them now. I don't really know what was going on with those forfeits, but now more than ever, you have to make these games up. These should be easy wins for them. You have to get them in order to maintain competitiveness with the Knights and to force the Knights to keep winning, or else you take their slot over, which is something that obviously the Trojans would really like to do.
All right, well, I'm going to come here and say one last little thing, because we're not going to start right away here. We're still waiting on one team, but please, Merps needs your help. He wants you to go do some voting for the All-Stars, ladies and gentlemen. He's been telling me that absolutely no one has voted for the All-Star game and who should be playing in it. Please go do that if you can, if you haven't yet, and which you probably haven't because literally no one has. So please go do that when you have the time. Maybe do it right now before the game even starts as you listen to us talk about the league. And let's continue on here. I actually look at the Knights here. The only team that's beaten them are the Geese in a 3-1 and the Bobcats in a sweep in the first game of the season. Otherwise, the Knights are riding a 4-game winning streak, right? And they've been doing very, very good for themselves. Their only forfeit win coming from the Trojans as well.
Yeah, Knights have kind of been showing the Trojans that we want this division more than you do. Particularly because they haven't been forfeiting games, trying to maintain that level to get into playoffs, and I think they have a very good chance of it. They've really picked their season and turned it around. It easily, with that first sweet loss in the beginning of the season, could have turned into a really bad season for them. They dragged that mentality out throughout the season. They didn't do that, and it's credit to them. So that, like I said, more than ever, the Trojans have to win this game to maintain competitiveness with the Knights, who are on that roll right now.
And talking about the Geese, because the Geese beat the Knights, right? And that's a weird stat to look at, right? 5-6 Geese winning up against the Knights. Technically 4-6 because their last win was a forfeit win. But they lost to the Tundra, but they won against Entropy. They lost to Osprey, but they won against the Vipers, and they won once again up against the Osprey afterwards the following week. They lost to the Pioneers in a sweep. And yeah, it was really rough for them at that point for the Geese, but it's really back and forth. It seems like a different Geese team playing every week, which is odd to think about, right? Like you don't have consistency there. And anything else that I know? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Geese is one of them wild cards. It's one of those teams that I personally wouldn't want to play, even though they don't have the greatest of records. Like you said, that it seems like it's different teams depending on the week. That could be because they, compared to a lot of teams, they've been subbing players in and out and having different amounts of games played and series played more than perhaps another team that would play their starting three and then have a sub. So that can throw off, your game, and depending on who you've got in there, maybe there's issues with player availability. All these things come into play, but it's strange, but unfortunately it's not strange enough in a good way that would propel them to even the wild card slot. I really don't think they're going to be in contention for that unless something drastically turns around. And so I would write that loss off for the Knights. I would say maybe that was an off night or a weird night, or you just weren't prepared to play. I think most teams have had that, which is evidenced by no team has 0 losses. So it's odd, strange, fun to look at, but I really don't think it has much substance to it.
All right, well, thank you very much, Dead Medic, for coming with me here for the desk. And I'm going to go back here with Titan to cast this game here between the Trojans and the Tundra. And Titan, how do you feel up against these two teams? What are your predictions before we get in here?
Well, I think you guys kind of covered most of it. Very, very in-depth, very well said little desk segment there. I think you covered a lot of the points that most people want to talk about when you're covering these teams. You of course talk about, hey, Trojans off to an absolutely great start to their season. They've been continuing to do well, and of course this is a very important win for them, or if they want to try and contend for that first spot, which is of course hard because they've lost 2 games to the Knights. But and I think you do, as you said, I think you do have to consider the fact that 2 of their losses are forfeit losses, because when you only have 3 losses and it's just, you say, well, 2 of them, we just couldn't get a team together. Then you're looking at the other games and you're saying, well, if you're looking at the games that you have played, you are suddenly now doing extremely well because you're 8-1 and you're almost at a 90% win rate, pretty much in series at least. So I really do like the Trojans, and looking at their team, it's a bunch of players that I have cast a lot of. I've actually personally know a few of them. They play a lot together, so it's obvious that they have that chemistry together. Specifically, Cream and Nicolou. I've seen them play quite a bit together, so they're a team that was very familiar with each other coming in, and they've obviously shown that. And for the Tundra, yeah, I think it is a very similar story where you look at these players, and obviously they performed well last season, but for this team, it's just not kind of coming together. It's similar to the Gulls in A, where, it can just be like that, where a team just doesn't work out. Even if you have really great players individually or who worked well with the team in the past, sometimes it just doesn't fit. But the Tundra, they're not doing terribly. They're 5-4. They obviously still do, or I believe 5-6. 5-6. 5-6. There we go. They still definitely do have a shot of trying to make it. into a wild card spot, but it's just a very, very long road if they want to.
And ladies and gentlemen, put in your predictions now with your channel points. Time to fuel your gambling addictions. We got ourselves the Tundras versus Trojans. Obviously, Trojans coming here as the favorite. I would say they win this series, but the Tundra here can pull off the upset, ladies and gentlemen. Who do you put your channel points on? 6,000 so far on the Trojans, 3,000 on Tundra. Who do you have?
And you know, if there's a team that can pull off an upset, you do feel like the Tundra have that potential. It just all depends on how they're playing on the day, how these players can show up and work together to get themselves this win. Packers, Cuddly Bob, and Gustav, again, all individually very skilled, and we just want to see that come out as they will manage to do so. The first goal going over the way of the Tundra in just 12 seconds.
Yeah, 12 seconds, as quick as you like, just as you do. That is a beautiful shot, and that's an early lead for them, and if they can handle and keep it, it's going to be a strong one indeed. Cuddly Bob and Packers, as I said, 2 first-round picks last season in Season 12. So both of these guys know the RLPC pretty well, and they were well-liked beforehand. They were amazing players in AAA last season, and they've been pretty decent this season, but it just hasn't worked into wins so far. But that's a nice tying goal right there as they double commit into that one.
Yeah. Just a little bit of a love tap there. Nicolou and Hopper managing to just bump each other and find the goal no matter. And as we head into this next 4 minutes and 30 seconds of gameplay, all tied up, both these teams once again on even standing. So a little bit of fireworks off the bat, but nothing too indicative of what we'll see for the pace of this game. Gustav does have a 1v1 here, but loses the dribble and can't go for a flick. Is more pressure going to come out from the Tundra, doing a good job of keeping possession of this ball in the corner. Good rotation in from Gustav, but doesn't find the 50-50. Still low boost on the side of the Trojans. They can't find that touch. The shot from Packers turned away. As this one's cleared all the way downfield, it could be dangerous. Hopper is just going to find the shot. The read isn't there on the defense. And a great play from the Trojans. Get themselves up 2-1.
Yeah, they got themselves the 1-goal lead right now, but there's still plenty of time for this to get out of hand for them. So they need to bulk down on that defense. You can't let off of the gas pedal just yet. Maybe the Tundra just have something up their sleeve.
Yeah, I mean, they've been showing actually some very nice offensive stances here. Of course, we've already seen quite a bit of promise from them. We've seen lots of shots that have come through, lots of nice passing plays into the midfield. Just haven't been able to connect on all of them just yet. And obviously the Trojans, a very adept team. Hopper, Cream, and Nicolou. I mean, all these players are, at least I know, are extremely good. It's an incredibly stacked squad. So we'll just have to see what they can do. And those passing plays, you know, the upfield touches, all that we're seeing from them is what they need to do to win. Obviously, the favorites, as a chat has definitely predicted that they will try and get the win. I think it was like 80% favored towards them. We'll have to see if the upset does come through. Personally, I voted for it because I like upsets. They're always fun as Nicolou saves this one away. 3 minutes left here in game number 1. Still, the Trojans got themselves that 1-goal lead. But still, we're seeing some nice posturing here from the Tundra. But no real deadly shots finding their way through.
Not just that, if to the people who like to vote for the team who's going to win, you're obviously going to get less channel points because obviously more people bet on that. So you're going to have a smaller bet size. So if you put in 10,000 as Craig did, you'll only get 12,300 back. Meanwhile, if you voted for Tundra and you put in 10,000, you're coming back out of there with 53,000. But no one put in 10,000. I myself put 1,000 on Trojans, so I'm only getting 1,230 channel points out of that. But if they do win at the end of the day, right now it is only 2-1, and there's a whole series left to be played.
Oh, yeah, a little bit of a, I would say an overcommittal here to the defense. Gustav gets faked out, and the demo comes through, and I don't think that Packers realized, or Cuddly Bob realized, that the demo had happened. So he went for the challenge, and his teammate respawned right underneath him. Means that that's an open net on the other side for the Trojans. And now with that 2-goal lead, obviously the Trojans, you know, it started off in this game, might have looked a bit sketchy when that first goal was scored on them, but they managed to handily get it back into their favor. Look quite comfortable now as we head into this final 2 minutes. As a dangerous touch on the backboard. I wasn't sure if Packers was going to get to it. A few more touches come through. And both these teams are playing a very, very defensive style, which is always nice to see a bit of passiveness. Just waiting for the ball to be cleared out, trying to keep the possession on the offense. Right now, the Trojans just doing a bit better job of it as we approach the final minute of gameplay. If you're the Tundra, I mean, you're going to need a goal pretty soon as Packers just barely gets back in time for that one. But yeah, you're going to need a goal within probably the next 20 seconds here if you want to have a realistic chance of tying this game up and sending it to overtime. Otherwise, it really does feel like the Trojans in a great spot to take this game one.
Yeah, with 65 seconds left on the clock here, they absolutely need one. They need a funny, funky goal for sure, a demoralizer, because that's the best kind of goals, right? Something that can just stop someone's momentum, and not just that, completely change it. Hopper, you slowed down there. That's not something you do. You should have shot far side with all the power that you had. Instead, you slow played it and you got stopped as you shot it straight in the center. Ouch.
Yeah, a bit of a misplay there, but at this point, it doesn't really matter. The Trojans have the nice thing is when you have a 2-goal lead is you have the ability to, go for a play that is maybe not optimal, and even if you don't score on it, it is a-okay because you are firmly in the lead. You felt comfortable this entire game. I mean, even when the first goal got scored on them, it did still feel like they were very, very confident in their ability to come back to find a goal, and that's absolutely what they did as we get into the final 5 seconds of this game. Trojans grabbed themselves the 1-0 lead in the series, and, that was, honestly, that felt like an even game at least, but the Tundra just couldn't keep up, at least on the defensive end.
Especially the Trojans on offense, they seem so comfortable. Hopper with all 3 of those goals. Obviously, I did flame him a bit there, but yeah, they already had the lead. They had it in the bag, especially if they keep up playing defense like that. Packers, though, doing everything he could, and he's always been known as more of a defensive-minded player, and Cuddly Bob more of a offensively-minded player. I remember this when I did interviews for them back in the day when I used to do Reddit, and yeah, these guys played absolutely well, but they just couldn't get the show on the road, and well, the early goal wasn't followed up by anything at all. The Trojans just started running away with this one. Shots are 12-7.
Yeah. And again, I think it was close there for the first half or so, but that difference in shots that you see did come there in the second half as the Trojans just continued to apply the pressure. And, 5 saves for Packers is great, but it's not enough if that's all that you're doing for a majority of the game. Tundra, again, fairly even, it felt like, just weren't able to keep it up as my game has crashed. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Rocket League, always perfectly optimized to run on my PC in particular.
All right, well, I will just take over for the first few minutes here as you come back in, and it's going to go off for game number 2. It starts off directly in Tundra's end, but immediately cleared out by Cuddly Bob over to Guznav. The shot is not on net, but falls right on Hopper, who was in his own grease there. Nicolou picks it up, pops it up in the air. He's going to air dribble a bit. Packers is waiting, but he backflips, and that's going to allow the shot to go directly on net, but it's going to be put aside. Cuddly Bob trying to get the ball cleared out. Hopper, though, gets it over to Cream. Cream off the back wall, over to himself, off the back wall again. That's a triple tap, but Packers says no, and that's going to be cleared away by Cuddly Bob. Hopper already back in his own zone, though, was waiting for it. Popped up in the air. Hopper picks it up over to Nicolou. That's some great passing plays. Oh, my goodness me. What a great passing play there. Hopper to Cream, back to Hopper to Nicolou. And that's how you open up the scoring.
I mean, it just looks so good from them. Every play, they are just, they're so comfortable in the air. They're so comfortable mechanically. And with whatever they're doing, the Trojans, I mean, we saw Cream go for a triple tap. Almost found that. Just coming out, getting the plays done. And right now, the Trojans, that game 1, maybe it looked a bit shaky at the start, but they managed to get it back in their control. And now, I mean, if they're going to keep playing like this, if they're going to open up game 2 at this level of play, if they can keep this up, then I mean, I am worried for the Tundra.
I am worried indeed as well, and I'm worried for the people who put channel points on them. But at the end of the day, right, that's the gamble. You went for the underdog because we here look at the stats, right? We say, well, the Trojans look like the better team. And then they come in, game number 1, they look like the better team as well. So right now, the Tundra just need to pull something out here, right? They need to pull an ace out of the sleeve here, get a blackjack. I don't know what you need to do, but you need to do something, right? And, well, right now, you saw how good the chemistry was there. The communication, positioning is very good as well if you don't intercept those passes. And if you can't get passes on yourself, right? Because all they're doing right now, the Tundra, is just punting the ball out of their own zone here, not really passing it. So they've got themselves quite the handful right now, and it shows.
Yeah, I mean, the difference in these two teams is that it does feel like they're trying to play a very similar style. As you know, they're trying to apply midfield pressure when they get onto offense. They're trying to keep possession off the clears. But the difference is, I think, just if you look at it, the individual touches coming out from the Trojans are so good. They're constantly trying to get the most value that they can. They're trying to get it into a position where their teammate can go for it comfortably. And I mean, as well, we just saw with their first goal, they're looking for those passing plays. They are aware of where their teammates are. They're looking for them as Hopper. I mean, I'm not surprised he couldn't get to that. I was a little bit shocked that he got so close to almost redirecting that one in. As we approach this final 2 minutes, you know, and we said the Tundra needs something, and they've stopped. They had stopped the Trojans from scoring until just then. But you need something a bit more than that. As you said, you need to find a goal. You need to get some momentum back.
And it's funny when you think about it, right? Because we talked about how Packers got 5 saves and is a more defensive player, and it shows in the stats for this season, right? With the 1.84 saves per game average, with the least amount of goals per game and least amount of assists per game. But he was one of the most offensive players last season. So it really shows the adaptability that he has, right? He's shown great adaptability. But as a player and what roles he can play, it shows that he can play in many different roles. But right now, I think his team need offense for sure. They haven't been able to score in over 10 minutes.
Yeah, it really is. You need someone up there doing some offense. Gustav almost finds a really nice redirect, but, you know, if you're relying on those types of incredibly difficult shots to try and get you back into a game, you're not in a very good spot and to start with, because that's not something you want to be going for while also saying, hey, listen, we really need to get this goal, so I'm going to go up for this. That should be something where you say, hey, you know what, I'm in position for this and we're in a good spot. You know, maybe we're tied up, I can go for it. Good stuff. I mean, he finds himself a goal here, but just a bit of a misrotation here. Nicolou hits it by his own teammate. They get a goal back, not the way that you would really want, though.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people. That's surprising. Normally, there's not that many people talking about who's playing and who's not. Foam has played in 9 of the 11 games so far, and he's by far their top scorer with a 0.69 goals per game, 0.53 assists per game, 1.44 saves per game. He's been doing pretty well for himself, but he's not playing tonight, and well, maybe that's a reason why their chemistry just isn't on par to that of the Trojans. But not a lot of teams have chemistry on par with the Trojans, right? The Trojans are one of the better teams here, and obviously, whether Foam is in or not, would it actually stop them from losing the series here? Because the Trojans have been playing so good, especially Hopper, who's pretty much gotten all of the goals. But Cream and Nicolou coming in here and scoring the goals in game number 2. They've gotten themselves amazing passing to boot. And yeah, it's not just a one-man army on the Trojan side. It's multiple Trojans trundling in here and whooping some butt.
Yeah, and you know, all these players, of course, are able of they have the ability to carry if they're on their game. You know, Hopper's just obviously playing very well, but Creep coming through, getting himself some goals, and you know, I do cast for some other leagues where he plays, and even on those teams, higher up, he still does perform incredibly well. Blue as well as we get to this last 10 seconds. Again, we have a 2-goal lead here. It's the final 10 seconds, and Trojans, they give up a goal, but they were absolutely in control for that entire game.
I don't... What? That can't be real. What? Foam was the #1 snow day player last season? Is that correct? Is that correct? That's nuts. If that is true. Oh wow, #1 snow day player. Well, there's a reason why he's played 9 games out of the... Well, this is the 12th game, right? So he's played in 75% of the games. But yeah, I mean, all the players have played a minimum of 7 games. Well, now 8 with Gustav playing in this one. So all the players have played equal amount of games, in my opinion. And I think that's not benching, that's just rotations, right? Who's playing in what game? Well, every player gets to play, I think, and that's the perfect way that should be happening, Mar. I mean, obviously you want to win every game, but as a player, you want to play in every game. Packers is going to be changed out for Foam here. A lot of people talking about Foam needing to be put in. Well, Packers is going to take the seat on the bench. Let's see what happens here when we get to see a little bit more offense as the 3 technically most offensive players play in this game now.
Oh, yeah, and Packers, we were talking about him needing to play a different role. I'm a bit surprised that he came out, though, because in that game 1, he was the only reason why the Tundra kept it remotely close. He had 5 saves, he performed the best. He did have a bad game, of course, there, but I am surprised that he's the one coming out. But Foam is in. He is here, ladies and gentlemen. You all asked for it. Snow Day King has arrived. We'll have to see what he can do to try and bring this team back, because they are down 2-0 in the series. They need a miracle here to find this comeback, because right now the Trojans, they look really good. Of course, the Trojans always look like they're playing well, but I don't think they often are each individually playing as well as they are right now. And that's saying quite a lot, because they are an 8-3 team. Is no early goals just yet. Gustav will be able to take control of this one onto the back wall. Cream onto the backboard. And it will just be cleared away, but no shenanigans in the early minutes, and it does just look like we're going to have a fairly passive start to this game 3, as I'm sure that, the Trojans don't want to make any simple mistakes or underestimate what Foam coming in can do for this team. So they're just going to play it out. They're going to see how this team will do, and then they'll take their time to find their first strike.
You say no shenanigans, but Nikolou was actually AFK for a solid 10 seconds, literally on the mid boost. And so, yeah, he was in no man's land, AFK, and his teammates were able to keep in the offensive zone, so no harm, no foul, and he's back in here. Well, until that point, he's been taken out by Gustav.
Cuddly Bob does get beaten to that ball. Almost said Cuddly Fish as the save comes through from Foam off the top of the goal. Still more shots coming through, though, from the Trojans. Second minute of play going to pass. No goals finding their way in. Still waiting to see which one of these teams really steps forward and decides to take the initiative on the scoring. Both of them playing out this offense very passively. This could be the chance, though. Nikolou has a free shot, but Cuddly Bob will get there. Will get the save. Cream trying to keep on this pressure. Gets it over 1. Looking for the shot himself. Forces out 2. Hopper looks for the double tap. Has all the time in the world, but drops it down too sharply. I mean, he was trying to hit a hard angle, but he played it a bit too conservative with the bottom of his car.
That is a great 50 from Nikolou, but let's talk about the shot that went off the post after the double tap attempt there. As Cream put it off the post. That is a great amount of effort there to keep the ball out of the net. It's all for naught. Hopper puts it in front midfield, and the offensive, I want to say it, the offensive Tundra, just too much for them.
Yeah, Gustav doesn't get the best touch there. He gets a clear, but his teammate also double commits, and he ends up hitting it straight out to Hopper anyway. Just not a position that you want to put that ball when you are on the defensive end and you are low on boost like the entire team was. This could be their chance, though. Gustav can't find the goal. That would have been just a nice, easy way to tie it up very early and to still give you plenty of time to, to get back into the swing of things. But now they're still going to be hunting for that equalizing goal, and there's only going to be 2 minutes left in this game. Foam, I think, surprisingly hasn't had as big of an impact as maybe some people thought. Of course, he's kept it very even. I think this, I think the Tundra have absolutely looked the best they have this series. But unfortunately, they're still not really able to find any goals, and these passing plays from the Trojans are just so good.
Not just that, in the first half of the game, right, they had 7 saves in the first half of the game, right? And you're saying that Foam isn't exactly the one lighting it up, and that's because playing Snow Day is a lot different than playing regular Rocket League, right? Snow Day is a very even Stevens kind of play field. Nicolou puts it in, and that's a 3-0 lead with 102 seconds left here. That's a great win by Hopper. That's going to be a 3-0 lead. I was going to say there's a lot more defense on the side of Snow Day, and you have a lot more wall play. You have a lot more interceptions. You just... That's the kind of game that he's been playing, too. He's just been waiting in the midfield. He's been stopping plays from happening, but he's not been the one to score. That's normally what you see out of Snow Day players.
And with this 3-goal lead, sorry, not even 2 goals, 3 goals now, 1 minute and 15 seconds left. You gotta do a little bit more than just stop shots. You need to find some of your own. The bump onto Cream is just enough. Foam does manage to finally get a play going. Cuddly Bob from the midfield hits it in. And, you know, the Tundra, they get a goal back, but you're still gotta ask, is it a little too late for them?
70 seconds left. Almost nice, but 70 seconds left. And you got yourself a 2-goal disadvantage here. Obviously, most teams could score 2 goals in 70 seconds. That is very doable for most teams, but the Trojans have kept this team to nothing, right? They've scored 1 goal this entire series up until that point. How if they can't find more than 2 goals in a series in the first 14 minutes of play, how are they going to find 2 goals in 1 minute here and then win it in overtime to start the reverse sweep? That's just that's how I see it right now. It just seems like the Trojans are going to take this one away, and it seems like the Tundra are just ball chasing, slow playing the ball in their own zone, so this one ends quicker. Just what it's looking like right now.
Yeah, it's looking a bit hopeless now. I mean, as you said, if you only score a goal a game for the first 2 games, and then you have to score 2 to try and make a comeback, to get it to overtime, and then to score another one to send it to game 4, and then to rinse and repeat that 2 more times to try and get a win, it's not looking like a very good outlook. Trojans 3-0. And I'm not sure if many people are surprised, because of course they were the favorite heading in. They're a team that they come in and you say, listen, they've only got 1 loss in games that they've actually played. They're obviously are playing wonderfully, and they absolutely showed it because they looked absolutely comfortable throughout that entire series. It never felt like they were not in control of what was happening during the series.
Exactly, and they were in complete control, even though it wasn't a complete blowout. Look at the Cardinals and Gulls game, right? Like, it wasn't a blowout, but the Cardinals had complete control over that series, right? You saw mistakes here and there, but they were far and few in between. And now you have this series where there wasn't many mistakes, right? There wasn't rotational mistakes or that. It was really just teams making awesome plays and the other team needing to react, and sometimes you don't have the perfect reaction every single time, right? It's just sad that the Tundra just couldn't stop the offense when they needed to the most. Yes, they made 7 saves early on in the game, but they were only able to make 1 more save in the last half of the game there, letting 3 goals in, and they needed to find more offense. They couldn't do that. 2 goals in 3 games, never going to be enough to win.
Yeah, and that does conclude that series. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to a short intermission, but when we return, we're going to be sticking with the AAA matchups. It's going to be the Raiders and the Thunder, 2 teams. They're 2-9, both of them. Teams that need to turn something around if they want to have a chance of even trying to wiggle into a wild card spot. So an absolutely important matchup for both of these. Something that might have a lot of, implications for these teams' seasons. We're going to go to a short break, and when we come back, it's going to be more RLPC action, so don't go anywhere.